Explore how Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, and India's ancient philosophical traditions offer unique perspectives on anxiety, depression, psychosis, and emotional well-being. Join clinical psychologist Dr. Hugo M. Gonzales as he explores India's timeless wisdom through a multipolar perspective, connecting traditional approaches with modern evidence-based psychology. Unworlded, many traditions, a deeper understanding of the human mind.
What if some of the questions we ask about mental health today have actually been asked for thousands of years? What if anxiety, emotional suffering, the search for meaning, and the desire for inner peace are not simply modern problems, but human experiences that different cultures have been trying to understand throughout history? Hello, I'm Dr. Hugo M. Gonzales, clinical psychologist, and welcome to Mindfield, Healing Traditions of the World. In this series, we explore how different societies have understood the human mind, emotional suffering, resilience, and healing. We do this from a multipolar perspective, because mental health does not belong to one culture, one civilization, or one way of thinking. Modern psychology and psychiatry provide extraordinary scientific tools, and evidence-based treatment remains essential. Alongside science, cultures have developed philosophies, practices, and traditions for understanding a healthy and meaningful life. Today, our journey takes us to India, a civilization whose philosophical and spiritual traditions have explored the nature of the mind for thousands of years. India's contribution is incredibly diverse. Yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, Buddhist and Hindu philosophies, ideas about consciousness, community practices, spirituality, and different understandings of the relationship between body, mind, and environment. It is important not to flatten this diversity into one idea called Indian spirituality. Yoga traditions differ from Buddhist traditions. Ayurveda is not the same as a philosophical school, and practices vary across regions, communities, historical periods, and individual lives. The value of this journey is not finding one timeless Indian answer, but learning to notice several distinct ways of asking questions about well-being. Let's begin with something familiar to people around the world: yoga. For many people today, yoga means stretching, exercise, or physical fitness. But older Indian traditions of yoga are much broader than physical movement. They include attention, breathing, ethical behavior, self-discipline, meditation, and the cultivation of awareness. At a deeper level, yoga is concerned with the relationship between the body, the mind, attention, and consciousness. That idea has become remarkably relevant to modern psychology. When we are anxious, the body may become tense, breathing may speed up, thoughts may race, and the mind can feel as if it is running faster than we can control. Modern psychology has developed evidence-based ways of addressing anxiety, including cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure-based approaches, mindfulness-based interventions, and medication when appropriate. These treatments can be highly effective. Indian traditions offer a complementary question: might learning to observe the mind also help us learn how to regulate it? Meditation is one example. It is not necessarily about eliminating every thought. In many traditions, it involves noticing thoughts without automatically reacting to them. You may notice fear, anger, sadness, or worry. while gradually developing the ability to observe those experiences, instead of becoming completely absorbed by them. That distinction can be powerful. There is a difference between saying, "I am anxious," and saying, "I am experiencing anxiety." The first can make an emotion feel like an identity. The second creates a little psychological space. Modern psychology explores similar ideas through mindfulness and approaches that teach people not to accept every thought as fact. The word complementary matters here. Recognizing that a traditional practice may offer insight does not prove every claim associated with it. And finding value in meditation does not mean meditation is sufficient for every person or every condition. Responsible integration asks what a practice can contribute, what evidence supports it, and when professional assessment or treatment is needed. This brings us to Ayurveda, a traditional Indian system of health developed over many centuries. Ayurveda views health through an interconnected relationship between the body, mind, behavior, environment, and lifestyle. Modern medicine and Ayurveda are based on different systems of knowledge and evidence. So, traditional medical claims should not automatically be treated as scientifically established treatments. One part of the Ayurvedic perspective is especially interesting for our discussion. The idea that everyday life matters to health. Sleep matters. Food matters. Movement matters. Stress matters. Relationships matter. The environment matters. Modern research strongly supports the broader principle that these factors influence mental health, even when science explains the relationships differently. Anxiety is not simply an uncomfortable feeling. For some people, it becomes persistent and overwhelming, affecting sleep, concentration, relationships, work, and everyday life. Indian contemplative traditions have long explored the relationship between attention and suffering, including the way the mind can become caught in repetitive patterns of fear, desire, regret. Think about how much anxiety comes from living in a future that has not happened yet. What if I lose my job? What if something happens to my family? What if I fail? What if people reject me? Modern approaches help people challenge unhelpful thinking patterns, tolerate uncertainty, and gradually face situations they fear. Meditation and mindfulness can add another skill. Learning to return attention to the present moment. The goal is not to pretend the future does not matter. It is to stop living entirely inside an imagined future. This is a skill, not a promise of permanent calm, and it should sit alongside appropriate clinical care when anxiety is persistent or disabling. Depression can change the way a person sees themselves, their relationships, and the future. Things that once brought pleasure may no longer feel meaningful. Motivation disappears, energy becomes difficult to find, and a person may feel disconnected from life itself. Modern psychiatry and psychology offer psychotherapy, medication, behavioral approaches, and social support, especially when depression is severe, meaning should not be treated as an alternative to treatment. A person with depression may need psychotherapy, medication, practical support, or urgent care, while also wrestling with questions of purpose and identity. These dimensions can coexist. Clinical care addresses suffering and risk, meaning can help a person understand what they are trying to protect, rebuild, or move toward. Indian philosophical traditions invite us to consider another dimension, meaning. Across several traditions, questions about suffering and the purpose of life have been central for centuries. The aim was not always to eliminate every unpleasant experience. Instead, people were encouraged to examine their relationship with suffering, attachment, desire, identity, and change. This is particularly visible in Buddhist traditions that developed in India and later spread throughout Asia. Buddhist teachings begin with an observation that remains relevant. Suffering is part of human life. We experience loss and disappointment. We become attached to people and things that change. We want certainty in a world that is constantly changing. Another important lesson is compassion. We often speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to another person. When we make a mistake, we may call ourselves stupid. When we struggle, we may tell ourselves we are weak. Indian contemplative traditions offer another possibility, addressing suffering with awareness and compassion, rather than adding unnecessary self-hatred. Many Western settings discuss mental health primarily at the individual level. Symptoms, thoughts, behaviors, brain chemistry, and personal history. These are essential, but Indian traditions have often placed the individual within a larger network of family, society, nature, spirituality, and existence itself. That wider frame is valuable for contemporary cultural psychology as well. Across generations, Indian society has preserved stories, epics, rituals, festivals, symbols, family traditions, philosophical teachings, music, dance, and ideas about life and death. Whether we interpret this through Carl Jung's collective unconscious or contemporary cultural psychology, culture provides a shared psychological language through which generations make sense of suffering, resilience, morality, identity, and healing. A child grows up hearing stories about courage, sacrifice, compassion, duty, loss, transformation, and the search for wisdom. These stories do not simply entertain. They can influence how people understand themselves and their place in the world. Culture does not determine every psychological outcome, but it shapes the meanings people use to interpret experience. Now we come to experiences that can be more difficult to explain. Experiences that today may fall within the category of psychosis. Psychosis can involve hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking, or difficulty distinguishing internal experiences from external reality. It is a serious mental health condition requiring appropriate professional assessment and care. Modern psychiatry has developed effective treatments, including medication, psychotherapy, family support, and specialized services. People experiencing psychosis deserve compassionate, evidence-based treatment. At the same time, unusual experiences have been understood differently across Indian cultures and communities, sometimes through spiritual, religious, or supernatural frameworks. Cultural understanding is therefore extremely important. We should neither romanticize every unusual experience as spiritual, nor dismiss cultural interpretations as ignorance. We need to understand the person within their cultural context, while carefully assessing distress, functioning, safety, and the possibility of mental illness. For clinicians, this kind of humility means asking open questions. What does this experience mean to the person? How does their family understand it? Is it causing distress or danger? What support is already available? Cultural sensitivity is not the same as accepting every explanation uncritically. It is the discipline of listening carefully before deciding how to help. A truly multipolar approach allows us to do both. We can respect cultural and spiritual meaning while recognizing the value of modern psychiatric and psychological care. We do not have to choose between compassion and science. We need both. And we need humility. Because no single tradition contains the complete answer to human suffering. Perhaps this is the deeper lesson India can offer us. Mental health is not simply about controlling symptoms. It is also about understanding consciousness, developing awareness, finding meaning, building relationships, cultivating compassion, and learning how to live with change. Modern psychology gives us powerful tools for understanding the brain and treating mental illness. Indian traditions remind us that human experience also includes identity, purpose, values, relationships, and our understanding of life itself. These perspectives should not be placed in competition. They can be placed in conversation. India does not give us one simple solution to anxiety, depression, or psychosis. Its many traditions give us questions. How do we relate to our thoughts? How do we respond to suffering? How do we cultivate compassion? How do we find meaning? How do we create balance between our inner lives and the world around us? Different cultures use different languages to describe mental health, and different traditions develop different practices. But underneath them, we often discover the same human hopes: to suffer less, to understand ourselves better, to connect with others, and to live meaningful lives. Mental health has always been a human concern. Thank you for joining me on this journey through India. I hope this episode has encouraged you to look at mental health from a broader perspective and appreciate the wisdom different cultures can bring. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share Mindfield. What countries' mental health traditions should we explore next? I'm Dr. Hugo M. Gonzales. One world, many traditions, a deeper understanding of the human mind. Until next time, take care of yourself and one another.